All right,
Yeah.
moments ago we spun the wheel, and because it's time to pick a Popcak, and today the wheel landed on Dr. Greg Popcak. It's always great to chat with Dr. Greg, especially when we're talking about discipline and parenting, and an interesting perspective rooted in St. John Bosco's preventive system. Dr. Greg Popcak, good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Hello, Dr. Greg. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I love this topic today.
Outstanding. I like it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Discipleship discipline. Because parents have really, discipline has changed from my day when my parents were disciplining me. So I understood the gentle discipline that you kind of talked, that's kind of where a lot of parents are at nowadays. But you're suggesting discipleship discipline. Can you kind of talk to us about that?
Sure, and that's what we call our approach that we teach in our books and that we support families in living out through the Catholic Home app, Catholic HOM Households on Mission app. But what it really focuses on is teaching children virtue and building character. It's based on the educational philosophy of St. John Bosco. He called it his preventive system because back in the day, he felt that the approach to children was very repressive, and so he called it the repressive system, that focus that really had teachers and parents just treating kids with harsh discipline and a lot of yelling and kind of shaming them for bad behaviors. And his approach was rooted on three pillars of reason, religion, and loving kindness, he said. And so it was really all about teaching and mentoring and forming character and building virtue in kids. And I like the term discipleship discipline because it takes that approach and it applies it to the home. And I think that as Catholic parents, we don't often think of our role as discipling our children into becoming intentional disciples, or Christian followers of Christ. And we tend to think of it as, well, they'll come into that when they become grown-ups. But really, the Church calls all the baptized to live Christian lives and to learn how to follow Christ. And that's got to be our first job as parents, really teaching our kids how to love the Lord, how to follow Christ, how to live out Christian virtue in everything that they do so that they can be a witness in their own lives. And discipleship discipline really focuses on how parents can be in that teaching and mentoring role.
And St. John Bosco, obviously, his approach is kind of based on the Salesian way, right?
Well, right. Well, so he founded the Salesian order, and so this preventive system is the way that the Salesians educate in their schools, and it's actually a core principle of Salesian spirituality, because this approach really requires the adult to keep looking at their own relationship with God and how am I being a model of the virtues I'm trying to teach, because we can't teach what we don't have, right? So, we want to think of ourselves in a sense as elder brothers and sisters in the Lord in relationship to our children, where we're a little further down the road than they are, but it's our job to keep learning how to live out the gospel in our lives, and then showing our children how to do that as well, through our example as well as through direct teaching.
So you talk about 5 stages. Can you share a little bit of that with us in kind of trying to help kids?
Sure. So when a child misbehaves, there are 5 steps that really you want to go through to identify it. So most of the time we just focus on stopping the bad behavior. But in this process, we want to help kids really learn how to meet their needs and express themselves more virtuously. So the first step is helping the kid, kind of calm down enough. You kind of collect the child and help them to take down their emotional temperature a little bit, and you help work with them to help identify what were they trying to do. Because behind every misbehavior, there's some positive intention or need, that's being expressed very inappropriately. So if a child speaks disrespectfully, the intention behind that might be, how do I express my frustration or my concerns in a respectful way? Or if I'm mean to my sister, how do I express that feeling in a way that actually gets my needs met instead of just makes her miserable? So what's the intention behind the behavior? The second step would be looking for a sincere apology. So to try teaching the child that it's important to be remorseful for the things they do. A lot of times parents just sort of settle for the magic words, sorry, and then they move on. In this approach, we really want to make sure that the child's calm enough and aware enough of what they did to give a genuine apology. And then the third step is where you work with the kid to figure out, well, if you had to do that over again, what virtues would you want to hold on to, and what would that look like? So if we needed to be more respectful, what would that look like in this situation? If I needed to be more generous, what would that look like in this situation? So when parents tend to overthink when they first present this, they overthink, what virtues do we have a list of something? A virtue is really any strength, any quality that allows us to lead a fuller, well-rounded, healthier, holier life. So it's just any positive quality. And so you're looking at what are the qualities that were missing from the original response, and what would it look like for that child to demonstrate those virtues in this particular situation. And the next step is really important. You role play it with your kid. So because a lot of times we tell kids what to do, and they nod and say, "Oh yeah," but then they don't remember it, right? And then 5 seconds later, they're back to doing the same things they were doing before. So if I could be, for example, if I role play the sibling that they were having a hard time with, I actually walk them through what to say, how to say it, what tone they should say it in, and I want to make sure that they have it in their muscle memory before they leave, and move on with things. And then the last step is really looking at how do they make a repair for the relationship for what they did. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it could be anything from just give that person a hug to doing a chore for them.
I love it.
And obviously, this is based on age, too, right? I mean, you've got to have kids cognitively at a place where they can understand these things.
Yeah, but I mean, it really is as young as the kids as young as 3 or 4 can do that. So
that's awesome.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Discipleship Discipline. I love that. Dr. Greg Popcak, thank you so much.